It's up for grabs now!
Magic ball from Bergkamp to Patrick Vieira!
Oh, would you believe it? Oh, right, what a way to get it! Well done!
Fabulous solo goal by pierre-emerick.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Arsenal Lounge. We are obviously, you guys know we do this on every Monday at 8 o'clock. Also, good evening to everybody who's watching on Mo's channel, because this is broadcast on Arsenal Lounge and Mo's channel. Do you want to get your thing out of the way, Lev, so we can get on with the show?
What thing, Shaheen? What are you talking about? I'm just waiting for you to introduce everybody. I don't know.
All right, cool. You got nothing to say, no?
Don't know what you're talking about, Shaheen.
All right, cool.
Get on with the show.
Moving on. I'm not going to actually introduce anybody. Everyone knows who everybody are.
What? We're not introducing anyone then? No, just straight into it. All right then. I love your curtains. I love your curtains. They're a Moroccan influence, and today I've got my Moroccan tea.
I can't show my appreciation the way I did that before the show started. So Thank you very much, Lev. You're very kind.
It's just nice of you to still contact us live from Morocco. You was God knows where you was before. God knows where you are now. But as long as you're safe.
Thank you. We've got a lot to get through to. So everybody's okay? Everyone's good?
All good. All good.
Right.
Good
stuff.
Have you kicked him out?
I didn't kick him out, actually.
So what? He just came on to compliment your curtains and then leave.
Wait, you blocking me because you're blocking me because I said something about your curtains.
I didn't do anything.
Wait, don't even go there, right? Because I didn't do anything there. So that's got to be you, Shaheen.
Honestly, I was going to my phone because I was going to read.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you blocked me.
Anyway,
I'm back.
Right. So since you're back, we'll start off with you. Quickly, your thoughts on the Burnley game.
Toothless. I mean, it was better than I expected, to be honest with you. We had more control of the ball than I expected, even with that, a bit of a lightweight midfield. However, again, toothless in up front, although we should have scored a couple of times. Just disappointing, really. It was a crucial 3 points we needed. Favourable sort of fixture that we would expect to get 3 points at home during a crucial moment, and we flopped. So that's all I have to say on it.
What's your thoughts on the manager's tactics and like?
Do you know what? I was thinking about this, and as much as we can criticize, you can't suggest that we shouldn't have won the game with what we had, with what he had available to him. If you're a top striker in the Premier League, the chance, for example, that Laca missed should be missing. So at what point do we start, looking at the players a bit more and what they're doing on the pitch and stop blaming the manager? Because we all know he's got to make the most of what he has at the moment. Okay, we have the transfer matters. That's another separate matter. But what he's got available to him right now, he did his best with it. He put out a decent side, and I think it was enough to beat Burnley. And you've got to start asking, look at the players. Look at Lacazette, for example. We love him. He does a lot, does a lot for the team, works hard. But he does not convert high enough stats.
You put that down to players rather than the manager.
We had enough chances to win the game, is all I'm going to say. We should have won the game.
Is that you put that down to the player or the manager?
At this moment, I say the players have to be looked at.
Okay. Mo?
Yeah, very interesting, because Lacazette is something I want to speak about on this show today. Against Liverpool, I noticed that he was vacating that central striker area consistently.
Mm-hmm.
It's one thing when he comes deep, because I understand that he's trying to influence the player, be a creator, be part of the game, where we've seen Aubameyang on many occasions sort of be peripheral to the game and then come up with the really crucial moment. And you turn around and you say, didn't play well, but he scored a goal, striker's job done. What Lacazette does when he drops deep, allows himself to be criticised, maybe unfairly, because he doesn't ever get that excuse of a bad game through getting a goal because he's not in those positions. But when Aubameyang got exiled from the team, Arsenal did okay. We scored goals, Lacazette came in, and he was doing the business. And then I thought to myself, and I remember I even mentioned this, if the midfielders go on a bit of a dry run, that's when this will become quite frustrating. And that's what we're seeing now. Partly due to quality of opposition, partly due to a very threadbare squad, which is down to poor squad management, but we'll get into that. And I don't mind it as much when Lacazette drops deep, as long as he's within the lines of the 18-yard box. And many strikers have been coached by managers, don't go outside of those positions. You're not going to score if you're wider than the 18-yard box lines, right? But Lacazette, against Liverpool and against Burnley, consistently was going into the wide areas. Now, against Liverpool, I looked at that and I thought to myself, I asked the question that you're asking, Shaheen. Is that down to the manager or is that down to the player? And I wasn't sure. And I said, it's one of two things. Either the manager is trying to create a bit of a false nine setup where he vacates that area, almost tries to pull a defender out with him, and then that allows someone like Emil Smith-Rowe to come in to, as that false nine. Or against Liverpool, I thought, here we have Lacazette up against one of the best centre-backs in the world, certainly top 5, top 3. And maybe he's just sort of thinking, I'm not getting any joy against Virgil van Dijk. So he thought, all right, well, I'll try something different. I got the answer to that question that I was asking against Burnley, because he was doing exactly the same thing. So it wasn't a case of, it's Van Dijk, I don't fancy it, or I'm not getting any joy. This is tactical, and therefore it's on the manager. And it simply did not work.
I 100% agree with you. Let me just read this out from Wayne. Thank you very much, Wayne, for your kind super chat. We got everybody. I agree, Lev. Arteta can't finish the food for the players. It wasn't a poor performance. It was poor finishing and a few good saves.
Shaheen, can I just add? I mean, I've been critical of Arteta, and I still am critical of Arteta. But with this specific question, with the opposition that was against them, with the team we had out, I don't think there's much else he could have done. I mean, I watched one of Tom's shows the other day. Yes, Tom, I do watch some of your shows, mate. And he made a good point. Where does it change? Where does he make changes? And they were stifling our wingers. So why not go back to 3 centre-backs and wing-backs and then have them overlapping? And that it still didn't work.
Say that, Lev, but, I saw a stat somewhere that we put in around 30 crosses in the box.
Yeah, but to who?
Against Burnley, right? That is not the players, it's the manager. You got Lacazette, who's not the tallest, against a very, very tall and physical centre-backs of Burnley, and you keep putting the crosses in. Why? And this is not the first time I've said this on these shows, that I don't understand. Even when Aubameyang was there, and why are we crossing? These guys are not good, in the air. They're playing against very tall and commanding centre-backs, and we keep crossing the ball as if there is no other plan. Get it out wide, cross it in, and we'll see what's happening. You've got a lot of your Gooner Talk TV people on the chat today. They're rooting for you, Tom. So we'll come to you. What about you? What's your thoughts on the game?
Thanks, man. And hello to the TGT gang in the chat box. Look, yeah, disappointing. I think that both, I think it's kind of the players and the manager in kind of equal parts. I think tactically, I agree with you, Shaheen. It seems very much plan A and plan B wasn't really there. There wasn't really kind of an alternate kind of decision when attacking, and crosses did dominate the game. However, saying that, as Lev said, we created enough clear-cut opportunities to win the game, and we should have won the game. And if say Lacazette takes that chance, we're 3 points, we're 2 points better off than we were, and maybe we're not having the same kind of discussion, because Burnley would have then had to come out, they would have had to attack us to try and get the equaliser, and who knows, it could have ended up being a very different scoreline. But in the game specifically, again, Mikel Arteta's in-game management has to come into question, because there were options for him on the bench, despite how young those options were, to change things, and we didn't change things. We made subs against Liverpool. It didn't change the structure. It just changed the personnel. We made a change against Burnley. And again, it didn't really change things. And Nketiah, who, let's be real, I can't think of a goal that the guy scored from outside the box. For some reason, that he's ended up playing on the left wing. He's a poacher. He scores on the end of chances in the 6-yard box, and we're playing him on the byline. I get that he might be able to dribble past a couple of players to create, but that's not his game. Get him in the box. At least he'll actually stay in by the 6-yard box, whereas Lacazette won't, and as Mo described, will drop deep. So that really confused me, the tactical decision to use Nketiah. And if we are lumping balls into the box, you've got 6-foot-plus Gabriel sitting on the bench. Why not chuck him in for the last 5 minutes of the game and see if we can get some? We had 2 subs left. And as Lev pointed out, I raised the point about maybe switching to a back 3, bringing on one of Tavares or Alabiosa, who's got 7 assists, by the way, for the under-23s this season at right wing back. Bring him on, double up on those wing back positions, get Alabiosa overlapping Xhaka so he's got someone to pass to, get Tierney or Tavares overlapping on the left-hand side of Martinelli, give him some support. but we didn't change anything. And it's just this kind of this static nature about our structure that remains throughout the 90 minutes and doesn't really offer anything else, to be fair.
Yeah.
Has anyone else noticed? Sorry, Shaheen. Has anyone else noticed that when we're playing, that they're actually allowing us to have the ball centrally, but then the minute it goes wide,
Yep.
2, 3, maybe 4 defenders are out there.
Yeah.
They've obviously
We've been
Because-
worked out.
Well, they've
Liv.
seen that it goes wide and he just crossed in. And this is what I was going to touch on briefly as well with you guys. Against Liverpool, there were times when the centre backs they were getting a ball, but they were looking as if they were waiting for somebody to make a move, and it was not happening. It was go to Fiorentina, and then it will come back to centre back, and we'll just keep it there. It was more or less. To me, it was as if against Liverpool there is one plan, right? One idea, and that is it. If it don't work, there is no alternative. You know, and you know, sorry to interrupt you, but we could see that Martinelli is getting doubled up on quite often, right? So, but yet we did nothing about it. We just kept doing what the plan A was, which you don't go toe to toe with Liverpool. You know, I thought it was a bit naive. I don't know what your thoughts on that as well.
Yeah, I think in both the Liverpool and the Burnley game, we saw Martinelli getting doubled up on. In the Burnley game, we saw Xhaka getting doubled up on as well. And that was very, very intentional. Sean Dyche clearly, and actually Aaron Ramsdale said this himself after the game. This is bread and butter. What we threw at Burnley was bread and butter for Burnley to defend. Aaron Ramsdale said that himself. Now, what Burnley don't want you to do is to trouble them with pace, is to be able to dribble, challenge them when you're actually running at them with the ball, or to get in behind. So I've made this point on my post-match reaction as well. I actually saw Sean Dyche very animated on the touchline, and he was shouting and really gesturing at Eric Peters, who, don't forget, left back in the second half is the opposite side to him. But Sean Dyche was doing everything he could to get the message across, and Eric Peters was kind of like arms out, like, what do you want me to do? And the conversation they were having is that Saka did okay against Eric Peters. He did okay. He did get past him a couple of times and put balls in the box. Probably didn't convert his attempted dribbles into successful dribbles and chance creation as much as he might have wanted, but he had enough joy to make Eric Peters want to get closer to him. And what that meant is there was a gap between centre-back and left-back. And Sean Dyche was constantly on his case. Don't do that, come in. Where Peters was turning around going, well, what can I do? Look, Saka's free. And Sean Dyche did not care. The manager was right, because every single time they prevented us getting in behind them or through them, they trusted themselves to deal with the crosses. 34 crosses attempted, 3 successful. That was the story of the game. When we're talking about in-game management and Mikel Arteta and sort of a plan B, on one hand, if I'm trying to be really kind to him, I'll say, look, with such a depleted squad, maybe it's understandable to not have like a really identifiable plan B in terms of different personnel. But I personally agree with Tom. These players have done really well in the youth team this season. So Mika, he doesn't need to play brilliantly. He just needs to be a lump up top, and he's clinical. He's got that know-how in the area to go and be on the end of something. When you've seen us put in 34 crosses in the game, to me, that lends itself to that sort of move. When Smith Rowe came off for Nketiah, thought to myself, I'd rather that was for Holding. Let's go all out here.
Yeah.
Take Holding off and stick on Beerith, or even if you want to stick on Nketiah. But don't go and take off Mill Smith-Rowe, who laid on our best chance.
Yeah.
And actually was one of the only ones who on one occasion went round the outside of a Burnley player, beat him for pace, put a decent ball in, created our best chance of the game. That, to me, I thought to myself, well, come on, Mikel Arteta, I expect more of you. And the problem that I have as well, when we're looking at the substitutes, right? Let me ask you guys and everyone in the comments, did you believe that Nketiah would impact the game when he was subbed on?
I never believed that anyway.
Yeah.
Any game.
No.
So I'd rather bring on a bit of an unknown entity, Amari Hutchinson, and kind of, as the manager, kind of say to him, listen, you've got nothing to lose. No one in that stadium would have been on his back. Mika Beerith, no one in the stadium would have been on his back. Unfortunately, Nketiah's had enough chances, so he has got something to lose rather than everything to prove. And I would have gone for a bit of a wild card in that situation with Arteta. Holding, you're off. Beerith, you're on. You've got nothing to lose. Make yourself a hero. That would have been my very simple team talk to a player like that. And I feel like he's missed the trick there, given the pattern of the game. The other thing I would have said as well is in terms of a plan B that doesn't involve different personnel, I would have given Lacazette that strict instruction. You get in the area as much as you can. Very simply that, and don't drift out to the wings. But so I feel like massive opportunity lost.
Yeah.
Obviously 2 points dropped, and this is on the manager.
Just before I go to the next subject, I just want to ask you guys a question, and it's a yes or no. And just before, obviously, my thoughts on the game, if anybody wants to know that is.
I want to know, Shaheen. Tell us.
Now, can we just move on to the next segment, please?
Thank you, Tom, for having my back as always. I agree. I'll put this down firmly on Arteta's door because I agree with Mo. Lacazette. When we signed Lacazette, everybody was like, "Oh, this is another Ian White kind of thing." Lacazette is also a poacher. And the way we've used him, it's not right. And I can't understand even from the get-go. The tactics against Burnley should not be one that you go on a side and you cross the ball from the minute one, right? You bring the ball down and you play football. If you play football, you beat Burnley, no problem. You go out and you keep crossing the ball, as you said and Ramsdale said. That's exactly what Burnley wanted, and that's exactly what's happened. I'm just going to ask you guys a question, a yes or no, because I don't want to go through this. There's
always one of us that do.
It could be a long conversation. Do you think Burnley should have had at least one red card? Lev?
Yes. Oh, sorry.
Well, Tom said yes. Lev?
Yeah.
Yeah, defo. Ashley
Mo?
Westwood one, yeah?
Well, at least one. You're free to pick one, but Mo?
Yeah.
Okay. So, and that's 4 yeses. And
can I ask you a yes or no answer?
Come again?
Can I ask you a yes or no answer?
If it's quick, go on.
Jeez, it's so precious.
Well, because I've got
I know you're hosting. I know you're hosting, but all right, okay.
No,
do you not think there was enough on that field to have won that game against Burnley?
Yes.
Lev, I'm so disappointed in you. I thought the question was going to be, are those curtains from Morocco? I can't believe you sat an opportunity.
I'm disappointed in myself. And are those curtains from Morocco, Shaheen?
I thought it was going to be, do you like yes or no questions? Yes or no?
Don't insult my characters, Lev. Anyway,
curses insult me.
Listen, we all agree that, as Lev said earlier, toothless was a perfect word for Arsenal today. We have not scored a goal for the past, I think, 4 games, even against Forest. We're desperate. We're in the market for a striker.
He said market just at that time.
Are you done, Lev? Can we carry on?
Honestly, I've had work. I used to teach kids, and this is worse. Like, genuinely, this is worse.
Do you not feel a bit awkward, Tom, when he goes at me like that? I think we all do.
Man,
I thought you were best pals, and it's like
it's not allowed to have a laugh,
anyway,
am I?
So we're desperate for a striker. We're toothless. We can't score a goal. Things are not really happening for certain players, which we're going to come to later. But we actually got a striker who's declared himself fit and ready.
Oi,
and,
you're using oi. We had this conversation offline earlier.
What? No, I'm actually
you're right.
I'm bringing this to your doorstep actually to start
Thanks,
with.
bro. Thank you,
We
bro.
actually got a striker who's declared himself fit. There is no heart problem. There is no issues, and he's ready and available. And I don't know if you've seen Adebayor's comment about that as well, which we'll come to. So, because we're going to talk about Aubameyang, we can discuss that as well. So, do you think we'll see him again in an Arsenal shirt? And is, as you said earlier, is this going to force the manager's hand now?
Do you know what? As time's gone on, and I hate to think it, but I'm just starting to believe that what would be typically Arsenal right now. What would be typically Arsenal? We try all window to get Vlahovic. It flops. We put all our eggs in one basket. Can't find anybody else. And it's either one of 2 scenarios. You either go and get some sort of quick fix, I don't know, from some other team that we're not expecting, But the real typical Arsenal thing for me to do would be to go, well, we haven't got a striker. We're desperate for goals. The window's closed. And Arteta's going to have to bite the bullet and invite Aubameyang back into the fold. And I can see that happening. I know right now it's impossible to see. We're not seeing it. But as the window deadline comes closer and closer, and we are desperate for goals, and we are desperate to try and get into that top four, and there's always that hope that maybe Aubameyang can come back and hit form and get us the goals we need, I can see it happening.
But do you think that will benefit us, considering the form Aubameyang has been in?
How the story ends, I don't know. I can't give you that answer. It could be, oh my God, he surprises us and comes back with a flurry of goals, or it could be a damp squib. But I could definitely see it happening.
Mo?
I think that I think it's a really valid question about Aubameyang coming back in the team, because I really, really would have liked to have seen him against Burnley. As a plan, if we're talking about plan Bs, Aubameyang is that poacher who can, say, yeah, I'm in the box, cross it in, drill it in, I'll get a toe on it. But I think that Arteta is so stubborn that he won't bring him back. And I'm trying to foresee what scenario has to play out for Arteta to bring Aubameyang back. Lacazette and Nketiah both have to get injured for me. And then I think there's a chance.
Or not
even a guarantee.
They're not scoring either, Mo.
Mo, the fact that Aubameyang has publicly on Instagram and Twitter said that I am fit, there is no issues with me, and I'm ready to go, right? So he's actually putting the ball on Arteta's court on this one, right? But do you think we'll see him again in an Arsenal shirt?
No. I don't know. And I think, we might have our answer in concrete in the next 7 days. Or next 7-8 days, because, we might see him pushed out. Whether that's
or it might be another Ozil scenario. You got a player of £350,000 a week that will just not get used.
But I can't stress enough that, for me, this is not about being an Aubameyang fan or an Arteta fan. We are Arsenal fans. And when I kind of very objectively, and it's easy for me to do because I'm not in between this dispute between player and manager. So just objectively, I'm looking at it saying, would Arsenal be better off with Aubameyang as an option in the squad? I think that's undeniable. Can anyone really say no? Even though I know that the consequence of that is that it undermines the authority that Mikel Arteta is trying to install within the squad and the culture that he's trying to install. Even though it undermines that slightly, I still think it's beneficial for us long term and short term. Because if we go in, let's say, it was a man in a different body, but Aubameyang's talent, and we signed him, we would all of a sudden fancy top four. It would be I hate to say it, it would be like a new signing at this stage. I would much rather, don't get me wrong, we go and make a signing, we go and get a Vlahovic, we go and get a Isaac, but if that doesn't happen, he needs to come back in as far as I'm concerned.
And this is not a striker we're talking about. This is the club captain we're talking about.
Well, not anymore.
Has got a falling out with the manager and is now being frozen out. Tom, where do you stand on this?
Oh, I wouldn't bring him back. I wouldn't.
You wouldn't?
No. I think this is the trap that Arsenal fans fall into. How many times when Ozil wasn't playing did we start to fall into the trap of, we aren't creating too many chances, maybe we should bring that Ozil guy back, and then we brought him back into the team and nothing changed. And I feel like this is the same thing. Aubameyang was in awful form before his disciplinary problems.
Yeah.
Came out of the team, Lacazette came in, and we battered Southampton, we battered West Ham, we battered Leeds, we battered Norwich. The striker for me is absolutely an issue. We are failing at creating these chances that we're taking, but Aubameyang wasn't taking the chances that Lacazette's missing as well. He was missing clear-cut opportunities before he got exiled.
He was.
So I just think that we're so quick to. I think there's an element because Arteta creates such a division. I think that when he creates that division and when Aubameyang is set on, say, the opposite side to Arteta, if you're in the camp that wants to see a change of manager, we're very quick to jump on the support of the player that's against the coach. And in this case, it's Aubameyang. And thinking that, oh, we should get him back into the team. I saw a few comments in the chat box saying that Arteta doesn't have the balls to bring Aubameyang back into the team. Arteta's too stubborn to bring him back into the team. This guy was the club captain, turned up late to the North London derby, has had multiple disciplinary issues. There's reports coming out from L'Equipe in France that he was, in fact, sent back from the Gabon squad because he was partying. Like, I'm sorry, but how many times does this player have to disgrace the badge? And I use that very, very strongly. It's a disgrace to the badge to turn up late to a North London derby as the captain and to act unprofessionally as he has done. I wouldn't bring him back in. I'd rather go out and bring a striker in on loan for the next 6 months of the season, and maintain a little bit of legitimacy.
Could I ask something? Is that all right?
Can I read the super chat first?
Go on then, Shaheen. It's always about you.
Alexander Klapov, thank you very much, as always, for your kind super chat. If Auba plays, he will do the same thing as he did before. We would say he's worthless. We'll keep doing this every time with bad results. And this is more or less what I think and exactly what Tom said. I just fear that it could be an Ozil thing, which we say, Aubameyang, and then we'll bring him back on. Nothing happens. If we don't sign anybody, then surely you've got, this is exactly what I said with Mesut Ozil as well. If you don't sign anybody, you've got to use all the tools available to you, and Aubameyang is a tool available, but I'll rather him move on and we get a striker in. Lev, you want to say something?
Yeah, I'm just saying, I don't, just to set the record straight, I don't think it would be right to bring him back. However, talking about disgrace the badge, I mean, if Xhaka can throw the captain's armband on the floor, tell everyone to F off and blah, 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 that's disgraceful, isn't it? I mean,
he should go as well. He should have got rid of him ages ago.
Agree, 100% agree. And I'm not saying either is right, and I'm not saying that we should bring Aubameyang back. But my question is, if we don't find someone in this window, are we biting our own nose off to spite our own face? When you've got, regardless of whatever you say about him, he's a proven goal scorer, and the one thing that's keeping us from getting to that top four right now is goals. No one reaches that top four without a proper striker.
If you're telling me that at the end of the transfer window, we don't sign a striker,
what would you do?
We don't bring anyone in. If there's a sit down between the player and the manager, and the player, hashes it out with Arteta, apologizes for the misconduct, the same as what happened with Ainsley Maitland-Niles at the start of the season when he put up that Instagram post saying, I want to leave. They had sit down talks, hash things out, and he started in the next game against Norwich, I think, at home. So look, if that happens, that's fine. Look, it's the manager's decision at the end of the day, and I want us to win the next game. So whatever decision is made, I've got to back that to hope that we win the next game. But right now, with a week left of the window, I would prefer we moved him on and brought someone else in, even if it was, say, not our primary target. I would prefer that.
I agree, Tom. I agree with that, and I've been relishing the day where I disagree with you about something. Right? I'm glad we finally.
Is this the day, Mo? Yes.
Because let's get stuck into this. Yeah, I'm saying the same. That I'd rather sign a permanent solution and be done with this little antagonistic affair with Aubameyang and Arteta. I'd rather just focus on football and not have this in the squad. And I trust the manager. I'm not an Arteta fanboy. I'm not one of those saying, give him the 2-year deal. I'm going to say, hold on, I'm still unsure about him. So I don't like or dislike Arteta to a silly degree where I'm biased. And likewise with Aubameyang. But I feel as though Arteta needs to focus on what's most important, and that is finishing in that top four. And he needs to swallow his pride. And I'm going back to the man management piece on him. If we do not sign someone, I think that he will do what he wants to do, which is not the best thing for the club. And I have a big problem with that.
Yeah, that's a good point. And could I also say, Shaheen, the best comment I've seen today so
This
far,
is Lev, isn't it? This is
Adi
Lev.
Saeed, yeah? Adi, thank you, bro. Thank you for noticing.
This is
Thank
Lev.
you for having
This
my
is not.
back.
There is no
It is
Adi
not,
Saeed. This is Lev putting this.
Adi Saeed, could you send some more messages of love just to prove it's not me? Hands free.
Yeah. Anyway, listen. Just to round this up, Tom, can you briefly give us some indication as to where we are in transfer market with the strikers?
Not really anywhere, mate, to be honest. Vlahovic isn't happening. The club have finally admitted defeat. They're looking at other options, but the problem is they're going to struggle to bring in anyone in the last 7 days. The only real option that we've got is Alexander Isak, and the only way that we get him in is if we pay his release clause, which is £75 million. And look, I rate Isak. I think he's a good striker, but that's a risk. That is a big, big risk to put that amount of money down in. However, yeah, for Isak, it's a risk to put 75 million down in. What I would say, though, is that putting 75 million down and taking a risk on a striker that, look, is very highly rated, is scoring goals, has worked exceptionally well with Ødegaard when at Real Sociedad, and those two would rekindle that partnership. He's taller. He would add some aerial threat to the team. He's really good with link up. He's good with the ball at his feet. And he's a good finisher, despite the fact he's not scoring too many this season. But I do kind of think in a different side, things change a lot for certain strikers. I think you bring him in and you take that risk, because if it's not him, it's no one. And no one, for me, absolutely undermines our chances of getting top four. Whereas actually spending that 75 million gives us a chance of getting top four this season.
There was a comment in the chat earlier before the show from a guy called Mark, and I promised him I'll ask you this. He said, ask Tom, if we don't sign anybody, does he still think Edu is doing a good job?
If we don't sign anyone this window, I would severely question what he's done this window, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And, you know, guys, it would be a real shame, actually, if they don't, because we're at the start of the season, if you can remember and answer honestly what you thought the realistic or acceptable expectations were for Arsenal, I said top 6 and a domestic cup, personally. I didn't think that we would be able to compete with City, Liverpool, Chelsea, United. And I thought there were other teams that would give our squad a run for our money as well. But I thought, no, 4th is not realistic. Or also, for example, wouldn't be a sackable offence if you didn't get it. The fact that we're there or thereabouts is partly down to the other teams faltering, but also partly down to the really good business that Edu, Vinay and Mikel did in the summer. And I think it would be a real shame for them to go and undo all of that good work that they did in the summer by not adding to the squad and what I believe to be really, really poor squad management that we've seen this January.
Look, to me, Mo, if I was at the position that Edu is, I wouldn't put all my eggs in one basket, because right now, with Vlahovic, we've seen what's happening. I would have at least negotiated with 3-4 other players in the same time. Maybe this is a tactical move from Arsenal, that you walk away from a deal and see how they will react. Maybe, but I 100% agree with you. It's unthinkable for them not to address the issues again. And especially after we all thought, right, they did okay, maybe there's a bit of a change in that department. And then this happens. Let me just read this from Wayne. Thank you, Wayne, for your kind super chat. Isak is highly overrated. He's only scored double-figure goals once in the past 3 seasons. He's only scored 4 so far. Lacazette is better scorer, a Shamak-like waste of money.
He's 22. Like, I don't get this. I really don't get this argument when people put this up saying he's had one good season. Like, this season, he's had a bit of a slow start. Last season, he scored 17 goals in 34 games. The season before that was his breakout. So I don't really get this argument about, you know, he's had one good... He's 22. I don't really get this argument.
Do you know what, Tom? I'm glad you said that, and I was ready for this as well, because the 2 things we keep hearing recently with any transfer targets we go for is, 1, we look at how many goals the lad scored, and he's not good enough if he hasn't scored 20, 30 goals in a season. Yeah. And 2 is the other excuse is, oh, he's from a Farmers League and he's no good, or they're terrible. Well, firstly, the Farmers League thing, which is generally for the French League, how many times have France won the World Cup? How many world-class players has it produced? It's endless amounts of world-class players, yeah? And you can keep going on about this Farmers League.
The majority of them players don't play in France League.
Yeah, but they started in France, a lot of them. Most
of
them.
Yeah, they've got a really good academy.
Secondly, I started to look at the statistics of certain players we bought. Now, let's go to Henry, yeah? When we bought Henry from Juve, he'd played 18 or 15 games and scored 3 goals and was having not the best of times. Prior to that, he wasn't really scoring a shed loads of goals at Monaco. Now, the difference is, back then, you didn't have social media and this, that, and the other, analysing every single little bit. And if Arsene Wenger didn't have that insider knowledge, if we went on what we're going on today, Henry would never have come to Arsenal, because we would have been sitting there going, he hasn't scored enough goals. He's only scored 3 goals. Now, Isak, when you look at him as a player, okay, he might be overpriced right now, but he is very close to a very young Henry. when you look at him in style, in his way, in his technique, in his skill, he comes in from the left, much like Henry. He's got a lot of potential. Before Vlahovic was mentioned, he was one that I was looking at, and I actually liked the look of. So personally, we put too much on this. He hasn't scored enough goals, this, that, and the other, and he comes from a French league. Because really, let's be honest, we really don't know. So rather than sit there and just judge it, let it happen. I'm sure they've done enough research. Isak would be a decent second option. And also on top of that, yeah, we might pay over the odds, but you know what? We need someone. I think he will be useful.
I just, I was going to make the same point really, and also in terms of, but I wasn't going to do it as brilliantly as you have, Lev, because I think I think you've made a fantastic point there. With such an elite comparison of Thierry Henry, if we signed Henry and he had those sort of stats that would be sniffed at now, I think what we're saying here is that if a manager can see something in a player and believe in a player and their ability to go bang, I think that's where we need to invest, because Arsenal can't churn out top signing after top signing after top signing. If we don't have that situation where there's a player who's got unbelievable talent but hasn't quite got all the goals yet, if we're looking at a player that has got all those goals, then they're already worth 70 million or plus, and we can't afford to do that all the time. So we do need to identify that player. And they both happen to be Liverpool players, actually. But I remember when Sadio Mane was at Southampton, I looked at him and I compared his stats to Theo Walcott. And I said, no, I'm not convinced by Sadio Mane. And then when he went to Liverpool, he leveled up. And this is what you need players to do. Alexander Isak might never, ever become the player at Sociedad as he will at a bigger club with more pressure and more expectation. Another one is Diogo Jota. He was good for Wolves, but who can deny he's leveled up when he's gone to Liverpool?
Yeah, Sadio Mane. Liverpool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, so my point is, when you go to a team where what you were doing previously was good, but not good enough to make you a success here, you sink or swim. And it's a sort of question that I think I'd be happy to ask of Isak, not at 70 million on the buyout clause. If we can get him for cheaper than that, we need to stop being so judgmental on players just because they haven't already done it. But on the other hand, Tom, you're saying Isak's only 22. Well, so is Nketiah, right? But
he's a lot better than him.
Yeah, but that's the thing.
There you go.
It's about spotting something in a player that maybe he hasn't produced week in, week out, and whether you believe that player can do that for you at your club.
Yeah.
Tom, do you want to answer Wayne super chat, and then we'll move on because we've got other things to discuss?
Yeah, sure. I think it's a bigger risk not to sign him in the sense of you don't sign anyone. I think it's a bigger risk for us not to sign anyone than it is to spend that money on Isak and try to get top 4 this season. Because in my mind, if we achieve top 4, it was worth the investment to get a player in that gives us enough goals. So yeah, I just find it staggering.
He's worth about 40 million, isn't he, Tom? Really?
I think market value 40 to 50 million is probably his value. So you're going to have to pay 25 million more than what he's worth. Which, when you put it in that kind of context, considering what we need for the end of the season, is that wildly overpriced? Is 25 million worth getting into the Champions League? Probably.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that people on here saying, don't buy Isak, he's not good enough. The same thing was said about Ramsdale a few months ago.
Yeah.
Well, listen, Mo, there's a guy out there, right? And I'm going to read you his record, okay, his profile. So, 113 matches, okay, 62 wins, 20 draws, 31 losses, 197 goals scored, 119 goals conceded, 206 points, 2 failed semi-finals, sometimes dubious tactical moves. As I said, only 113 games in charge. A bank average player at best during his playing career. One FA Cup. Numerous rows with players. Would you like him?
Big fan,
big fan, Shaheen, I can see, obviously.
No, I'm not making this up. These are all facts.
Yeah, I mean,
This is all facts. I'm not.
It's more the delivery I'm
No,
looking at. to be
bro,
honest.
I'm just reading out the facts. So this guy is out there. 1, do you want him as an Arsenal manager? 2, do you think he's good enough to take over from Pep? Right? 3, if he was an Arsenal manager, would you offer him a new contract?
Look, I think it was interesting because as you were reading all that out, I was thinking, I wonder if Lev and Tom and the people watching think that that's a fair summary of Mikel Arteta. And the way I see it is that it's the truth, but it's not the whole truth. There's other good things that you could have included in there that he has done, whilst I feel like you've included all the bad things. So it kind of skews it.
hence leading, but I think
Yeah. So I'd say you could also add to that, has definitely improved the team, has positively impacted the culture, albeit quite in a heavy-handed way, and that goes hand-in-hand with upsetting players. But he has done some of the good things. He's tightened up the defence, he's made good signings, all of that sort of stuff. But is anyone good enough to replace Pep? No. I mean, Pep is just the GOAT right now.
Would he be, let me rephrase that question. Would he be a candidate to replace Pep?
Pep will be a candidate to replace Arteta.
God, would he be a candidate to replace Pep?
Because there's talks that Arsenal are panicking that Man City will come in for Arteta. That's why they're offering him a new contract. And for the life of me, I can't understand why.
Yeah,
and I do admit that maybe I should have been more positive with description of the manager. I should have added those things in. But
look, the reason why I'm even thinking about could he possibly replace Pep, obviously, look, if Pep recommends him and he's got that City connection, and also then he's got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of £1 million that he can spend, that always makes the job much easier. But look, in reality, I think that no club that's got Champions League ambition should be hiring a manager that's never managed in the Champions League. I think you should be a proven winner.
I just remembered one thing. I forgot to add one more thing as well when I was describing this profile.
This is going to be a really positive thing. Hold on to your hats.
No, it's not.
Is it not?
I'll tell you what, right, since Shaheen's taken over this hosting, it's getting really neg again. That's all I'm saying.
This profile that I was talking about sets unrealistic targets as well, like we can win the Champions League in 3 years' time.
Oh, no,
Dodgy signings.
I hate to have an ambitious manager.
Yeah, well, listen, whether you like it or not, Tom, these are the things he's said.
But look, look, you're asking those questions, man. Look, let's just, brass tacks. Does he deserve a new contract now? No, he doesn't. Absolutely not. If he was to get top 4 at the end of this season with 12 months left on his deal, has he earned a new contract? I think there's a very strong argument to suggest yes. Yeah. If he gets into the top 6 at the end of the season, I still think the jury's out. I'm not sure I'd offer him the new contract even with 12 months left. I think that's not enough evidence to suggest that he's the man to take us forward for the long term. If he finishes outside the top 6, he should be gone. I think it's as black and white as that, to be honest.
Yeah, agreed.
Okay. You all agree?
Yep, agree.
You all agree, right?
100%.
Right. Now, do you think that's what will happen?
No, I think he'll get a new 2-year contract.
That's exactly my concern. And whilst I agree that if he gets us top 4, which seems unlikely, I'm willing to give him another season, right?
See how he gets really chuffed about that.
But my concern is Arsenal will come up with some story like, oh, Man City are coming in for him or some crap like that, and they'll sign him up to another 3-year contract. And from what I've seen of his time at Arsenal so far, there is a lot of question marks. There are positives, I admit. There are positive things that Arteta has done. But for me, there are a lot of question marks. And what we've seen with Arteta is that he goes back against Man City, Liverpool away, top performances, right? Gets followed by Burnley, Forest, this sort of performances. And I've seen that quite a few times with Mikel Arteta. Not once, not twice, when everybody's fit or when everybody's not fit. So these are the things that concern me. Lev, do you also agree that the club will pull him fast when they'll time up to the contract?
Yes, 100% I agree. And before we go any further, can everyone please stop laughing? This is a disgraceful situation. So, Tom, you, Mo, if I see you laugh, or you, Shaheen, no laughing. All right. So, for the rest of this show, can we have straight faces, please?
Well, I get why people are concerned about this, man.
But if we don't laugh, we're gonna cry, right? Let's be honest. It's an irony.
Absolutely.
It's a laugh of irony. Let's be honest. We know what needs to.
What's the solution? They're not going to sack him.
Wait, hold on. Firstly, we could say, like, if we want to talk about lacking ambition, but my man, the Cronkies, they've just won the Super Bowl, haven't they? With the Rams. Is that right? LA Rams? They've won the Super Bowl. Yeah, they've won the Super Bowl. So he's got some ambition. They have given some money. What do we do? If he doesn't make top 4, you get rid of him. That's what you do. Because I think we've got a good
get rid of him?
No, I think we should get rid of him. Yeah. You're asking me what I want. If he doesn't make top 4, get rid of him. You've got a core team there, decent core. Just add some experience, and away you go. You just a couple of additions. I would jump on this, but I don't think they will.
No.
Listen, I think that it's very simple. We just need to make the additions. You know, that's everything that we need to do right now. You know, you can either back a manager by giving him the 2-year contract, or you can back a manager by saying, look, we're going to trust you to deliver. That's what we should be doing.
For me, listen, I think they're not going to sack him, right? Whether they're going to not renew his contract, I don't know, man. It's just, I have no confidence in the board.
I don't think they'll sack him if he finished outside of Europe again. I don't think they would sack him.
What's Europe? What are we talking about? Conference? Or are we talking about top 6?
No, I'm talking if he finishes 8th again, I don't think they'd sack him.
No, I don't think they will either.
He's got to
go.
go.
I know it's not, but that's
we all agree it's not good enough. But you see, the way they come and back this guy, Lev, right? They put themselves almost in a corner that regardless, we have to back this guy because we invested so much in him. £250 million.
Yes, I don't think we've invested that in him. I think we've invested that
in a project. Let's say.
I think that's invested. I think if you look at kind of the change in the players that we've brought in, I think that Edu, despite his weaknesses and his criticisms that we've got, I actually think the players that we brought in are of now a squad that a new manager could come in and take that squad over a lot easier than either Unai Emery took over Wenger's squad or Arteta over Emery's.
It's not like it's not like if we get rid of him now, we'll turn around and go, oh my God, that money was thrown into a black hole and it was useless. We have a better core. We have a better core than we had before.
He has been part of the team and he has had an input into getting these players in, right? And I personally think a better manager will get more out of this group of players. That's what I think.
You're better off retaining him as a coach and getting in a proper manager.
If he was to be sacked right now, Shaheen, who would you bring in to get us to top 4? Who would you bring in right now that would get us top 4?
Good question, Tom.
Because I don't think there's anyone out there that is available and that would get us into top 4. Because the obvious answer...
But in an ideal world, Tom, that doesn't mean that this is the reason that we have to stick with him.
We could have got Conte. We could have got Conte.
No, listen, a club will identify a manager, right, and say, right, I'm going to go to this club and I'm going to say, right, listen, somebody I see put in Erik ten Hag, which I was going to say as well. How much is it going to take for us to get this guy? And you go and get your man. I think Conte is gone because now he's managed Spurs. That is going to be difficult for Arsenal.
But you know how the fine lines of it all is. Like if we had got Tammy Abraham, I think it would have been a different season this season.
Well, that comes back to the point about Isaac as well, because how many people in the summer just scoffed at the idea of Tammy Abraham in the summer? He's got 12 goals in 12, I think, now for Roma. But
Tom, did you say no to Erik ten Hag?
No, I said he's not coming now. Man United wanted him. They couldn't get him. They had to go and get, what's his face, Ralph Rangnick. He's staying to the end of the season. The other person is Graham Potter. Graham Potter takes time to instill and adapt. I'd be all up for the idea of Graham Potter in the summer. I think if people want to suggest Graham Potter to replace Arteta in the summer, I think that makes sense. It gives them a summer to bed in, instill his ideas. But I don't think Potter is going to take Arsenal to the top 4 where we are right now if he comes in tomorrow.
I don't want Graham Potter. I do not want Graham Potter. And the reason for that is, look, he's a really, really good manager, but Arsenal need to properly position themselves and understand who they are as a club. You don't go from kind of doing okay at Brighton to managing Arsenal. We need proven winners, managers with experience of managing big players, attracting big players. Graham Potter, and I do say this to try and take the mick as well, can go and manage Tottenham and do well there, prove yourself at a club like Tottenham and go and get a Champions League qualification, then you're good enough for Arsenal. So I kind of feel like, they need to go and do more to come and manage Arsenal. This is my problem when we got Arteta as manager. Has he done enough? No. I want to go and get a Ten Hag type. Go out and say
is that what you want more?
Yeah, for me, Allegri was obviously, going back, the man that I wanted, but obviously now he's at Juve and actually not doing as well as he should. So Ten Hag, I've always liked Gasperini from Atalanta. I think he's a really good manager.
Zidane, no?
Pardon?
Zidane?
He's not. He's risky, isn't he? Because he's not done anything outside of Real Madrid.
Will he be a candidate?
I used to say the same about Pep when he was at Barcelona, but he's proved me totally wrong. He's been brilliant.
Zidane is a really risky one because sometimes talk about the football community. The football community was a reason why Arteta got the gig at Arsenal, because he's so highly rated within the football community. And that kind of frustrates me a little bit. What is the football community? Who is that? Is that Pep Guardiola and those people all just parroting him? And in the footballing community, Zidane is not highly regarded. It almost kind of, he's the most disrespected manager in comparison to what he's achieved. Zidane, he really is. I'd almost kind of say, like, perhaps unfairly so. Maybe we should be more open to it.
Lev?
What about Brendan Rodgers, guys? Would you look
Lev,
at him?
can you read the super chat before you?
No.
I'm clearly useless at NFL as well, because apparently they haven't even had the final yet, so that's all I know. Perry Nagbel, thank you so much for your support, bro. You're always on here, man. 449, 2 new signings can take us to the next level. A top striker and a top midfielder can have the same impact as Van Dijk and Alisson at Liverpool. And I kind of agree with that. I don't think we're that far off, guys. I really don't. But then how long have we been saying this as Arsenal fans? We've been saying this for about 10 years. We're always 2 or 3 players off.
To replace Arteta.
Management-wise, it's very difficult at the moment to see who we have available.
Because you just said Brendan Rodgers.
No, I didn't say Brendan Rodgers. I threw him out there because people have been putting him in the chat. I personally don't. I wouldn't have Brendan Rodgers. But I mean, I would have liked Klopp. We shouldn't have let him go to Liverpool. We had the chance to get Klopp. We didn't. I've always liked Simeone, but I have my doubts of whether he fits the way we want to play.
No, are you serious?
What?
I can't deal with it. Joachim Low, really?
Is that the guy that picks his nose?
That's him.
Is that the nose picking guy? Oh, he's terrible.
No,
I don't want him.
he's the one that scratches.
Scratches his balls, picks his nose.
Yeah.
I don't want him just for that. I don't want him. There's a
Gosh,
lot of names I don't even know. Rafa
Listen, this is a shout. Steven Gerrard.
Oh,
he's just joined Villa. If he was,
that's exactly like Arteta. What might as well get flipping Wayne Rooney.
Honestly, it's
Patrick Vieira. Has anyone thought of Patrick Vieira?
Again,
give him a season. Give him a season at Palace.
People are so desperate to get rid of Arteta that they are just willing to throw any old name at this. Look, I'm all up for Arsenal moving in the right direction from a managerial standpoint, but I'm not just going to have any old name. And people aren't being realistic about this. They're just throwing in names in it. I think if he doesn't get what we want to achieve in the summer, and I think increasingly,
let's say, you know what? Hold on. Let's do this right. So it comes end of the season, he hasn't got top 4. He's finished 5th or 6th.
If you told me that we could get Ten Hag in the summer after finishing 5th or 6th, I'd jump at the chance. I'd absolutely jump.
And if you can't get Ten Hag, I'm saying the question is, would you stick with him regardless, or you sack him?
I feel like 5th or 6th, I just think that I increasingly feel like it's a huge opportunity miss where he has made decisions that have would lead us to miss out on it. That's my issue. It depends on who replaces, because I don't want another experimental pick. I want, if we're going to replace him, I want someone who's got genuine pedigree, that's improved the teams where he's been, that's got a track record of achieving things or progressing the size that he's at, that doesn't make silly in-game decisions. That's what I want. And yet people are just throwing out Joachim Lows and Brendan Rodgers. And, I think, Mo, you rightly put me in my place about Graham Potter. I think even this season's making me go a bit doolally at times and throwing out silly names and stuff. And look, I think Graham Potter's doing a decent job at Brighton. His XG stats are insane. And that's what makes me kind of slightly attracted towards the ideas, because at Arsenal, maybe that style of football would create something special, but it's a big, big risk. And this is the thing, like Diego Simeone is only really suited at Atletico Madrid. It's very, very different to what we've got. Antonio Conte, I think, was a huge miss. Like in that moment, if we'd have been able to get him in, say, the summer, because I thought Arteta should have gone at the end of last season. So if we could have got Antonio Conte then that would have been perfect. But right now, there's just so many names being thrown out that are not realistic if he was to go. But in the summer, if we can get Ten Hag, I would absolutely jump at the chance. But beyond that, there's a real, what's the word, drought, I suppose, of top coaches that are really genuine. People like throwing in Bruno Lage, who's currently at Wolves. He's doing a good job, but so does Nuno Espirito Santo was doing a good job at Wolves for a while. We went to Spurs and look what happened. So
wait, do you know what? Here's a really out there one. Tell me, do you guys know when Conte's contract expires?
Oh my God, was you going to say what I was going to say? You're going to say he leaves at the end of the season and comes to Arsenal. Yeah. That could happen.
Can you imagine?
That would be the best.
But can you remember how many people wanted Rafa Benitez? Like, and look what happened at Everton. Like, I mean,
he might be available soon. And in fact, sorry, no,
he is available.
Yeah, he is available. And Claudio Ranieri's available as well.
Oh yeah. Let's do that.
So just to round things up.
Names are getting better by the minute, guys. By the way.
Yeah. Listen, just to round things up, we've been going for a while. We've got about 8 days left of the transfer window, right? Realistically, what do you think will happen? Not what would you like to see happen. What do you think will happen? Realistically, Lev.
All right. If I'm being realistic, the way Arsenal have acted in the past, and I go with my gut rather than my heart. If I go with my head rather than my heart, should I say? I think we will flop with the big signing that we're looking for, and either go for like a quick fix. I don't know. I mean, I watched a really good thing earlier. Don't want to digress, but I watched a really good YouTube show the other day, today, thanks to Omar Dino, by the way, for the tip. It was The Athletic, and they do a segment called Sensible Transfers, and they mentioned people up front. I think it was who the names they mentioned. A couple of guys. They mentioned Isak. Yeah, they definitely mentioned Isak. They mentioned some other lad from Espanyol. Yeah, and also midfield. So I can see us either doing
Patrick Schick on that list.
No, it's not.
No.
We had midfielders like Svanberg, Matusina, and Kakare were the midfielders that they were talking about, which was pretty good. Oh, Skamaka, someone like that, like a Skamaka or someone like that. We'll end up with
6'5" striker.
Yeah, someone like that. Or we will end up recalling Aubameyang. That's what I think, if you want my honest opinion. Not that I want that to happen, but that's what I think.
Anything on Wilshere? Could you see that happening?
If a midfielder don't come in, anything can happen.
If we do that.
And by the way, Skamaka sounds quite close to Shamaka, so you just never know.
Shamaka was Moroccan, wasn't he?
He was.
He was. That's where he got his curtains from. They're signed, by the way, at the bottom by Shamaka.
Are we not close to getting this Melo guy over the line, Tom?
I don't want it.
No, I don't think so. I think you've basically turned around and said we don't need to let him go. And
are we close on signing anybody as we speak?
No. Sanchez?
No.
I hear Sanchez wants to come.
All right. So, Tom, what do you think will happen in 8 days' time?
My honest to God answer is no one. I'm not confident.
Is he good?
Yeah, yeah. No, I can't. Obviously, we've seen in the past things crop out of nowhere, but the thing is that they're impossible to predict. So that's why I'm leaning towards no one right now. Tomiyasu came out of nowhere. Tavares came out of nowhere. Ramsdale did at the start. I mean, look, we could see something pop up towards the end. January usually lends itself to things popping up in the last few days. I hope I'm wrong. I would activate the release clause if we can't negotiate a fee for Isak. I absolutely would, because I think it's worth the risk considering where we're at. But look, midfield-wise, when you think about it, by our next game, we'll have Partey, Xhaka, Elneny, Lokonga all available. So midfield, whilst I think that we need to upgrade on Xhaka, striker, we're a Lacazette injury away from Nketiah for the rest of the season if you don't.
Oh my God, I don't know what's worse. Just like us.
So, yeah, there you go.
More?
I went very quiet then for a second.
That's because you gave us that news.
Yeah. Tom has just knocked all
Killed
the
the
stuff out
vibe.
of us. If we
The
didn't feel
viewing
bad
figures are
enough,
starting to drop. Everything because of Tom.
if we didn't feel bad enough after Burnley, Tom is just flipping, really taking the wind out of ourselves, hasn't he, with your pessimism?
So
We will get something done in the transfer window. And the reason I say that is because Mikel Arteta has been very public about the fact that they are looking and they're talking about the market's difficult and blah, blah, blah. Now, if you are that upfront in the transfer window and he's basically talking about his colleagues, he's talking about Vinay and Edu. And I kind of feel like he's setting them up for immense criticism because he's saying, yeah, we are looking, we're trying. And then if they don't, I feel like they're going to be very exposed. And this is just me, I'm no psychologist, but the way he's been speaking about things, I think that he expects something to be done. That's what I'm getting from Mikel Arteta and, in his press conferences. So I think we'll bring someone in, but whether that's going to be an Arthur or whether it's going to be Vlahovic or Isak or anyone that we're actually linked to, or just someone completely left field, I've got no idea now at this stage.
Yeah. Just on that note, they promoted him to be part of the recruitment team now. He's part of those people responsible for bringing players.
But there was a very interesting interview that Italian newspaper called La Nazione Firenze with the Fiorentina managing director or something.
Joe Barone.
Yeah. And basically, the Arsenal bid is real. He's gone out there, and I'm surprised this wasn't reported as widely as it should have been, because you get loads of flipping Twitter accounts. This is the top brass of Fiorentina basically saying, we've had an offer, but basically Vlahovic and his agent just aren't talking. They're not responding. And that's what his issue is. Vlahovic missed the last game with COVID. Don't know if it's true or not. But Arsenal have actually got an offer on the table. So on one hand, I kind of feel like, well, look, if Arsenal, he described it as a super offer, like a mega offer. So I would actually cut some slack to Arsenal, because now I've got conclusive knowledge that we have actually bidded. So what can we do if the player doesn't want to come? At least we've tried. Yeah. But now Arsenal need to wash their hands with this and say, we're going to move on.
Yeah. A while ago, I think it was mid-December, we did a show with Fabrizio Romano, and we discussed Vlahovic. And he told us then, and he said the player has no interest of coming to Arsenal at all. They're not even willing to discuss things with Arsenal because they just don't see Arsenal as a destination at all. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if that's the case still or not, but it looks as if that is the case. So credit when credit is due.
Shaheen, can I also read out something I read earlier on that someone tweeted? I don't know who he is. His name is Danny.
Before you do that, I just ask people to hit the like button on the video, guys, and subscribe to obviously Arsenal Lounge, subscribe to Mo Haider's channel, subscribe to Tom the Gooner Talk TV. It's about it's about 560 people watching, combination of obviously viewers and not enough likes. So whoever's channel, wherever you're watching it, hit the like, please. It helps us. Lev, go on.
Where's my guy to tell Shaheen to stop cutting me off again? Where is he? Yeah, anyway. But Danny, at NAF, he's on Twitter, at NAFTracks, and he tweeted something that really did make sense, and we need to get a grip as fans a bit. I remember when we were 5 points behind West Ham in fourth, and everyone was happy. Now we're 2 points behind fourth, going into February, and our season is already over. So that's how it feels as Arsenal fans right now. It's quite bizarre that we are still in this, but it's just... It's dependent on what happens next. And I'm a bit disappointed because we started January so positive. Had we made the right moves, at least sorted out midfield, something, I don't think we'd be in this situation. But
if we didn't let Ainsley Maitland-Niles leave,
we shouldn't have. We really should. And
crazy management.
When I was talking about the poor squad management, that is the prime example. We're short in the right back. We're short in central midfield. Here's a guy that can do both to a decent standard, and madness.
Mo, you see, all four of us can see this, right? And at the time, Tomiyasu was fit, but even at the time, we're like, why are you letting him go now? We're short on central midfield. If all four of us are seeing this, why can't they see it? Is it something that we're missing?
Yeah. And
what is it that we're missing?
You've got to ask the question that if all four of us can see this, what is it that we can't see that Mikel Arteta can see? And that is what he alluded to when Ainsley Maitland-Niles left. The player wanted to go. We don't get to see that element of things. When you have a player that's sort of like, no, I haven't had my opportunities here. He's vented his frustration before. He had a man of the match game against Watford, didn't play again after that, and he's fed up. It seemed to me like, what can you do then? Once, look, Shaheen, if I didn't want to be on this podcast and I just sat here like giving one-word answers, not putting in the required effort, you'd say like, that's it. There's no point in having you here, mate. Just go. And that's what we don't.
No, that's true. That's true. But maybe the state of our club, unfortunately, is in a place that for all of us, we're waiting for this Amazon documentary to come up so we can actually see what's going on inside of our club, because no one knows.
I don't know if I want to, man. I really don't.
Anyway,
it's going to be interesting.
We've been going on for about an hour and a bit. Again, thank you everybody for being here, for watching us. Please hit the like button. Just to round things up, Tom, your final thoughts.
Oh man, like if you're going to insult me in the chat, at least spell correctly. Christ, so I'm not at left saw that.
I saw you getting bitchy with him. That's why I said it.
Yeah.
The only thing I saw was Tom saying, "At least I can type."
Yeah. It's playground, isn't it? No, thanks for having me on as always, mate. Always
Pleasure.
appreciated. If you want to, stick pins in your eyes, you can join me at 8 a.m. every morning to discuss all the transfer news that isn't going down. But no, we'll be keeping you up to date over on the Gooner Talk every morning. So do come over, and yeah, as always, pleasure.
Pleasure is all ours, Mr. Haider.
I would just say, look, I'm one subscriber away from 31.1. It's bugging me. But
that number.
More importantly, Tom is at 29,700 and something or other. So get him up to 30k because he deserves it.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, please, everybody who's watching, subscribe to Tom, the Gooner Talk TV. Subscribe to Mo. Get them to where they are, and then if you have time, and if you want, you can subscribe to Arsenal Lounge as well.
I want to get 20k. I want to get us to 20k. I want to get 20k.
Yeah. Absolutely. If you're watching this, hit those subscribe buttons because that's all we ask for. It means a lot.
Yeah, hit the like and subscribe. And obviously, if you're watching this afterwards, comment and let us.
Apparently, there's a tweet from Romano, by the way, if anyone wants to quickly look it up and see what there is.
Yeah, Tom will have a look. But Lev,
yes, mate.
What's your final thoughts?
My final thoughts is please, Arsenal, please just get into that transfer market and get us what we need because we're sick of it. I mean, I saw another quote. I'm going to quote Amy Lawrence from The Athletic. This just hit it for me. I don't want to see this again. The majority of our game was getting the ball out to Xhaka or Martinelli, then hooking it across to the apparition of Oliver Giroud. That's what's going on with our team right now. We're whacking in crosses left, right, and centre to nobody. I want to see us go out and get the players we need to take us to the next level. So let's just hope that happens. And thank you for everyone in the chats for supporting us and all the chats that go in there. It is fun to read, even while this show's going on. There's some crazy stuff going on.
Are you doing something Wednesday, Lev? Transfer
yes,
show?
we will have Edu on the transfer show again. Hopefully, give us some good news. I don't know. Have you found out anything, Tom?
Tom, what's Fabrizio said?
I've just.
Yeah, he tweeted like an hour ago. Fiorentina director Prada says, yes, we've received important bids for Vlahovic in January. We're open to sell, but we've never received any answer from his agents. Juventus, ? Our doors are open. We wait for Dusan to decide. We need an answer.
So just to reiterate that point, Fiorentina have received a bid that they are happy to accept from Arsenal. Arsenal deserve credit for going out there and saying, here's the cash. So let's be fair to our club. They deserve that credit. If Vlahovic doesn't want to come to us because we have not been in the Champions League for years and we are no longer at the level that we should be at, we finished 8th the last 2 seasons, I understand that. And that is something we're just going to have to live with. It's hard to take as an Arsenal fan because we're not used to hearing players don't want to come to our club. But this is what we've all been worried about. And Shaheen
has Shaheen disappeared?
I've upset him by saying that, haven't I?
Has he actually got... Oh, here he comes.
He's back.
He's back. You know how Tom gets when it's the other way. Can you switch it around, please?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, I don't know what happened.
Panic over.
Yeah, but no. Listen, guys, thank you very much for being here, for watching us. This show on Monday, it's just picking up numbers, and I think more of you are watching. We read all the comments, so leave comments for us. Tell us your thoughts on on everything that we discuss, and yeah, just thank you. Hit the like button, and Wednesday, Lev is going to do a show. Subscribe to Mo. Let's get him through to where he needs to be, and Tom as well. So yeah, Lev, do you want to do the final bit?
Guys, it's been emotional. Please, Arsenal, do your business in the transfer window. All you guys in the chat, all you loungers, thank you so much for joining us again. In the comments, I want to see if you want us to get any other guests on. Let us know who you want us to bring in. We'll see what we can do for you and any other ideas. So just keep them coming. But smash the likes. Please subscribe. This has been the Arsenal Lounge, and we're out of here.